Hello, everyone. I have the honor and privilege to be joined here by Teacher Robi. My name is Wezi Thindwa with Adobe Express, and we are going to get into some really important topics and conversations for empathy building and understanding in the classroom space. So, Robi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with just introductions and tell us a bit about who you are, your current role, and your journey into education.
Yes. So my name is Teacher Robi. As you've already said, I have been teaching in a classroom for 7 years now. I've been working with kids for over a decade. I started when I was like 15 years old. My first job was the YMCA camp counselor. And from there, it just kind of built a fire and passion in me to work with children. So I went on to graduate college. In college, I worked with kids all throughout my college career at a program called Ignite. And that was where I really got into the school system. I was working as an after school program coordinator. And then when I graduated, I was like, let me take a little break. And God had other plans for me, or the higher powers, or my ancestors, whatever you believe in. I had other plans. So I ended up falling into a position at a charter school, KIP, where I actually am at right now. I started there as a paraprofessional, which is a one-on-one educator who, helps a specific student. And within the year of me being hired, I ended up being promoted to a teacher, and actually a learning specialist. And then they paid for my master's degree for me to graduate, get my master's, get certified, and then I became a full-time classroom teacher. I started with history. I've taught it all: ELA, history, math. I think any teacher will tell you that you've probably taught every subject because that's what teaching is about. Um, and then I've just grown there. I have always been a person that takes myself and my job very seriously. And so I'm always looking to like grow and just get better. Um, Currently, I have a bunch of different hats. I am a grade level chair for sixth grade. I'm the art teacher, and I'm the only art teacher at our school. I'm trying to get another one. Um, I'm also a DEI REI coordinator, so diversity, equity, and inclusion, or race equity and inclusion as well. Like both of those go hand in hand. So I coordinate those professional development sessions. And I feel like, oh yes, I'm the social media coordinator. I wear so many hats that I'm like, wait, what do I do again? But yeah, so I deal with the social accounts for my school to promote events, highlight different activities, teacher things, all of those kinds of things. So I wear a lot of hats at my school. And it's because I have taken on those leadership positions. And I think it's really important to be the educator that I needed when I was a kid. I've always kept that in the back of my mind as my why, as to like why I do the things that I do, what keeps me coming back. It's because I want to be the educator that I never had when I was younger.
Amazing. What a strong mission. And Robi, I think a lot of us educators know when you are the only of a particular title in your building, it means that other duties as assigned is a lot of other duties as assigned. So you definitely have your hands in so many areas of education, making your experience just a breadth of experience in this space. So one of the topics and areas that I want us to land on is that of mental health. What experiences, learnings, takeaway, guidance might you be able to offer around mental health? And as we learn more, we also see that as we learn more, we tend to do more with mental health. And that is also causing some fracturing around role responsibility, right? Like, what's the role of the classroom with mental health? What's the role of our teachers, of our community members with mental health? And so what does the ideal collaboration to you between teachers, counselors, administrators, parents, paraprofessionals, what does that look like to you to support student well-being?
You really included so much in that question, and I think it's so valuable because there are so many different parts and pieces that come together for kids to be able to be successful. I always say this, like I say this every day. It takes a village to raise a child, and our kids, especially the population that I serve, they need so much. And there's just so little. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing for me that I could like say, really there's no one piece that's gonna like be the end all be all. But what I've learned over the years as an educator, like there's so many different pieces of education that I've been in. I've been an after school counselor, I've been a one-on-one para, I've
Mm-hmm.
been working as a teacher in a classroom. So like having all of those different experiences, the one thing that I think is a constant is the fact that if I'm not doing well, if I feel like there's something going on or I'm going through something in my personal life, it is much harder for me to show up for my kids in the way
Mm.
that I normally would. And so like I see it in myself. And I think the reason that I'm able to even say that right now is because I recently started going to therapy, and I've been in, we've been going for I've been going for a couple of months now. And I think it's been super important. It's been a life-changing experience for me. Not only because I just get to kind of talk and express myself freely and have that space, but
Mm-hmm.
also because I literally can stamp and name, okay, I'm feeling this right now because of this thing, and I shouldn't really be taking that out on my kids. Let me like regroup. Let me find out what I need because I'm a human. Our kids aren't perfect. We aren't perfect. And it's like, if you are okay with knowing that, then you are going to be so much better off in the future. So, just in general, I think collaborating with the people around you, like you were saying earlier, like it takes, like I was saying, it takes a village. So partnering with the social workers, partnering with the nurse, partnering with the para. So a lot of the things that I do, for example, recently actually, and it's I think everything happens for a reason. It all worked out because me and the nurse in December collaborated and said, hey, we want to collaborate because we see there's a gap. Kids need to know like, one, they need to care more about their mental and physical health, but also number two, they need to like learn about it. Like they don't actually know, so we can't like fault a kid that's coming to school who maybe doesn't smell the best because they don't shower every day, or
Right.
maybe there's a kid who is coming to school and they're depressed and they're taking it out in a really negative way on their peers. So we decided, you know what, let's collaborate, let's inform the kids, let's make a project out of it. And it just worked out because in January is when we did our January Health Awareness Project, and Adobe and myself partnered with the class in order to make these projects. And I couldn't be more happy with the outcome. It was amazing. The student investment of kids wanting to see their posters around the school, I was shocked, but not really, because it takes that for students to be invested. They created something. And at first, there was so much pushback. They're like, oh man, I don't know how to work this. Like, I can't really do it. It's hard. And I'm like, that's what I'm here for. We're going to learn step by step. I'm going to teach you. And once I taught them the basics of like adding a text, adding a background, learning how to do, text to image, once I did that, it flew from there. Kids were really excited about, picking a topic and creating a poster around that topic. And it also had their minds thinking of like, what would you want to see on your social media? What is something that you feel like is important? And so I had kids, after the project was done, I had kids coming up to me like, Teacher Robi, when are you going to put my project up? Like, I want to see mine. I just saw my friends. Like, when's mine coming? So just investing them, like finding a way to invest kids is probably one of the hardest things that you can do, especially when it gets to the older kids. Like young kids is pretty easy. You know, the older kids is a little bit harder. But what I find invest kids, especially when it comes to mental health, is giving them an opportunity to share what they are passionate about, to work on something they have chosen and are passionate about. And that, I think, has been all the difference in like discussing mental health in the classroom.
Amazing. So, along with your mission of being the teacher that you needed for yourself, the values that I'm hearing as you're speaking is to allow for that shared humanity amongst your students and teachers, and that within that collaboration, that ultimately it comes down to investing in our kids, investing in the students, helping them have a high value of self, empowering them with that, and then also equipping them with the tools to get that self-expression, which is so, so powerful. And so one thing that you mentioned early was the power of therapy for you. What strategies can educators use to promote self-care and resilience for themselves and their students?
I think it's important to have your own personal things, practices that you do at home that you feel like are you taking care of yourself. And I don't want it to be a thing of like, oh, well, you have to go get your nails done, you have to go get a haircut, you have to go, like, yes, those are also avenues that you can take to like feel good about yourself, but you can also try something new at home that you may not have done before. I think for me, I find it really helpful to be open to like trying new things. But specifically when I'm talking about like how can you as a teacher focus on your mental health so that you can show up in the classroom, I think it's a matter of like transparency. Now, of course, you're still a teacher and they're still kids, so they shouldn't be all up in your business. But I think it's important to like be transparent with the kids. Like I have very rash and real conversations with my kids, and I let them know like when y'all do these things, this is how it affects me. And that is not okay because X, Y, and Z needs to happen. We don't have time to waste if you're wasting time talking when we could be learning. Like giving them the value, the importance, and talking to them about their future. Because especially again with the population that I teach, you mentioned earlier, like it's so important to instill that value, their own value within themselves. And that can be really difficult sometimes when you're teaching in a city like Camden. um I don't want to say that they don't value themselves, but when they speak, when you hear kids say things like I don't have an imagination, or
Mhm.
when you hear kids say things like I don't have anything good to write down, and I'm asking them to write down 3 positive facts about themselves,
Mm.
you feel in I feel in my heart, it hurts, because what is that? That's telling me that no one at home, or maybe no one in your life right now, is expressing to you how important you are, how loved you are, how valuable you are. And I'm the first person that said that to you, or maybe in a long time. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's really having in-depth conversations with them and really caring about who they are as people and what they're doing. A lot of the kids will just value a conversation. And if you sit down and you're like, not just, oh, how was your day? No, what's one thing that made you smile today? Like, what did you learn? Like, what's one thing you learned in math? Tell me about something you learned in science. And I do this with the kids all the time, and like you can see them, the smiles, how their faces brighten when you care about what they're saying. And
Mhm.
you're asking more questions. You're investing in what they're, and then you check back in next week. How did the basketball game go? Did you win? How was the football game? Sometimes I'll show up myself. I'll be there, and I think as an educator, I don't have the capacity to do that all the time because it's really hard, especially when you're tired of from a long day at work. You just want to go home, maybe have a glass of wine, cook dinner, and go to bed. Maybe not even cook dinner. You might order in because you're that tired. So
You know it.
exactly. So doing those things, it it actually, being a teacher is love and hate. And going to a basketball game and seeing a kid smile, and like the face that they give you, or the next day when they come to class and they're like, you saw me at the game, Teacher Robi, how did I do? And building those relationships, it is worth it for me.
Beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a very formal, structured production about those discussions about mental health. I think those conversations that you were naming are so catalytic to relationship building, to understanding students, to imparting self-worth for them, and just being able to show up for them and knowing how to show up for them because you are focusing on their student voice. So that's absolutely wonderful to hear. And I think those are really powerful insights too. Thank you, Robi.
Thank you.